Dallas Cowboys, what went wrong this season? Why did they lose? Can I explain? Because the talk right now is, what do the Cowboys do? Such a disappointment.
Yeah.
Is it really, though? Is it really that disappointing of a season that they didn't make the NFC Championship? Was anybody expecting them to go to the NFC Championship?
Well, only once they won the wild card game.
Oh, everybody that wins a wild card game is hot and on a roll, and they should win.
Yes. Once you win a wild card game, you've now got the monkey off your back. You won the first playoff game since like 1972 or whatever it was. And now they get to roll to the Super Bowl again.
So I like to look at coaches in one of two ways. Did you overachieve or did you underachieve? Right.
Okay.
And I know people want fresh blood in there, and they wanted to get rid of Jason Garrett after like week 8 or whatever, and then all of a sudden they turned it around. And I don't really have an opinion on what they do with Jason Garrett. I don't even want to call for his head or say he deserves the job. But I think if you look at this season, the Cowboys overachieved. They overachieved. They won the division. Nobody expected them to win. They won a wild card game. They never should have beaten the Rams on the road in the divisional round. They overachieved and went, this was as expected. Once they got to the divisional round, they're supposed to lose. Like, that's it. They overachieved and then hit expectation in the divisional round, which is lose. They need better talent in a couple spots on offense. They need more playmakers. We saw Michael Gallup emerged opposite Amari Cooper. That was great. That made the passing offense much better down the stretch. You need more consistent play from Dak Prescott. I mean, they are what they are.
Yeah. Ultimately, their cause of death was not being good enough. Right.
That's it.
And it kind of actually where it really manifested itself is that it meant that they had to go on the road at some point in the playoffs.
Cause of death, travel.
Yes. Cause of death,
number one
travel.
Cause of death.
7-1 at home, 3-5 on the road in the regular season. Then obviously you win another game at home.
So 3-6.
1-1 in terms of road home splits in the postseason. So had this team had home field advantage throughout the playoffs, maybe they would have been a legitimate Super Bowl contender. But they didn't because they weren't good enough when they had to travel the first time round. So they had to go somewhere, albeit a place where, if you're going to travel somewhere, that was a pretty strong away presence for the Dallas Cowboys.
It was.
There was a ton of Dallas fans in Los Angeles.
They play out there in training camp every year because that's where they.
But still, it wasn't being at home, where this team is completely different within that dome in Jerry World.
I will say this. I mean, I wrote before the season how much I loved the way they were building the defensive side of the ball. It's all homegrown talent from DeMarcus Lawrence to Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, Byron Jones, Chidobe Awuzie, Xavier Woods. I think all of those guys, Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, they have a bright future on the defense. They have to figure out what to do with DeMarcus Lawrence, of course. I think they have a lot of work to do on the defensive front. Taco Charlton hasn't really lived up to his first-round hype.
Not at all.
Malik Collins has struggled. The defensive tackles, as a whole, have not been very good. So they've got a lot of work to do, I think, on the defensive front. And then I think you just continue to throw playmakers on the offensive side.
Primary cause of death, travel. Secondary cause of death.
I think the defensive front. If we're talking about why they die Saturday night, the front seven was horrendous.
Yeah. Front seven. Yeah, part of it was to get the game plan
scheme
design.
too. Yeah,
right.
Scheme.
So okay. Well, secondary cause of death, defensive front talent.
There you go.
Okay.
Here's the difference, right? The Chargers a couple weeks ago, their scheme won because their defensive line won, as we said. Dallas's scheme lost because their players lost. They put pressure on their defensive line to win their blocks, and they did not.
Yeah.
So a lot of pressure on the D-line, but they were unable to come through.
Right. This idea of putting your players in the best position to succeed, sometimes the game plan is going to dictate that you put certain players in a disadvantageous position or in a position that is not their best spot to succeed. And those guys need to stand up and be counted because the game plan needs them to do that week. Now, if those guys suck that week, that's a problem.
Well, it's kind of like if you're able to defend the run with fewer players, you're taking a chance. But if you can do it, boy, does that have great benefits. That's kind of like there was a reach block in one of the Rams' runs that Gurley ran through a hole a mile wide.
Yeah.
If you can reach block a player, you essentially you steal an extra gap away from the defense. If you can make this really, really difficult block, you're going to win the play. Most of the time, you're going to lose the block, though. That's how I felt about Dallas and their game plan. Also, the offensive line, they battled injuries and stuff like that, and they went and Travis Frederick missed the entire season. So you just don't have that same dominant offensive line in Dallas. You had 2 elite players instead of 3 with Zach Martin and Tyron Smith and everyone around them. You had Connor Williams struggling, Xavier Su'a-Filo struggling. You just had a lot of guys. Joe Looney at center, just not even close to what Travis Frederick brought. So the offensive line was completely different this year as well.
Yeah. Is Dak Prescott good enough to win a Super Bowl for the Cowboys?
I think he is. I think...
Well, actually, so hang on. Here's the first... Let me give you a question before that one. Is Dak Prescott closer to 2018 Dak or 2016 rookie Dak?
You mean 2017?
2016.
Is over... Oh, okay.
Is Dak Prescott overall, generally, in optimum circumstances, closer to 2016 or 2018?
I think it's more 2018, which is mid-tier,
right?
Average quarterback. He looked like he was this.
So then the question is, can that guy win a Super Bowl?
Yes, mid-tier quarterbacks can win the Super Bowl in the NFL this year. I think they can,
still,
but it just takes so much around them. I think that the thing with Dak is, I think they can unleash him down the field a little bit more. He only threw one pass over 20 yards the other day. It was when he rolled out and dropped the ball in that Gallup made, right? That nice catch. He can throw down the field all right. I think they have to let him do it a little bit more. He's one of those volatile type of quarterbacks, the Jameis types, who's going to have some misses where you're just like, how do you miss that? You're an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
And then comes back and makes enough good throws. Those types of guys can win games for you. You're just rolling the dice. You just don't know what you're going to get. But if you get the good, plus what he adds in the run game, that's the other thing. If you scheme up enough runs for him, kind of like Cam, scheme up enough runs for him, let him scramble a little bit, and just steal extra first downs, there's enough in Dak there. I don't trust him as a passer. I don't think he's a great passer.
No.
But I think there's enough in there if everything else around him is built well.
Okay. So we're not going to put him down as tertiary cause of death, but I will say that he was the worst quarterback in the divisional weekend. And therefore,
I'm shocked. His grade ended up pretty good, and he had the worst pass of divisional weekend when he just threw it right to the dropping zone defender.
Yeah,
that was dropped for a dropped interception. So that's it, Dallas. You are who we thought you were. You overachieved. So I don't know what you guys want to do going forward, Cowboys, but I thought you guys had a good season. Be happy with the season, something to build off of.
I mean, they won a playoff game.
Yeah,
first time they've done that in a while.
Yeah. So how about that? That's a good year. After everybody wrote you off, how about it?